Today we're going to be answering your questions about cycling safety. But before we get to that, I want to address a few of the questions that were in the comments of our previous video. One of those questions was, what kind of temperatures can belts withstand? And the Gates CDX line can withstand minus 65 to 185 degrees Fahrenheit. And the Gates CDN and ST lines can withstand minus 31 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So for cold weather riding, those will both hold up really well. Nothing to worry about there. Another question we had was about how fenders and chain guards are necessary in order to keep you clean on the bike. I wanted to discuss that a little bit. We have numerous models with fenders, and they do a lot to help keep you and your bike cleaner on dirtier days. They don't completely prevent you from getting sprayed down with water or other debris on the road. I wanted to talk a little bit about the chain guard question because I think the user mentioned that chain guards do a lot to prevent road gunk and debris from wearing out the drivetrain. We don't often include belt guards on our bikes because belts don't have the same problems with chains of being covered in grease and staining your pants, so you don't need to be protected from your belt most of the time, like you do from a chain. And I think in some instances, chain guards can also trap debris and dirt. I've seen that working in the shop a bunch of times. Snow or water could get caught in full coverage chain guards and actually cause the chain and drivetrain to corrode faster. It's a good comment and something to consider. And now on to today's topic of cycling safety in the winter. And everything that we're going to discuss today is true year-round, but is especially relevant when the temperature drops and you're wearing more gear and the conditions can be worse. First question, what equipment do I need to stay safe? And I think the first stuff to keep in mind is your bike needs to be functioning properly. So to check and make sure that there's nothing loose or excessively worn on the bike, the tires are aired, and your brakes and the components on your bike are working properly. There's nothing worse than being in a scenario where you need your brakes or you need your bike to work properly and something goes wrong, and that can lead to a bad crash. You also want to make sure that if you're carrying cargo on the bike, that it is secured. You don't want something to swing into your wheel or get caught in something and cause an accident. Similarly, it's important to be smart about what you're wearing. If your clothing is too loose or is falling off, a long scarf, baggy pants, or a dress, then that could get caught in your drivetrain or in your wheels. That could be bad. So just keep in mind that you don't want to wear something that could get caught in your bike. And finally, the most important piece of safety gear, the helmet. Just wear it. It can make a huge difference or even save your life in certain situations. And helmets have evolved to be a lot cooler than they used to be, both in terms of looks and ventilation. So if you're shopping for a helmet, I suggest getting one from a more reputable brand and trying it on. It's really important that they fit your head properly and they're comfortable. Some brands that I like are Abus. Klaska makes a really cool folding helmet that we happen to sell. But there's numerous brands out there that make cool and fun helmets. All helmets have to pass CPSC testing. So even cheap helmets are technically as safe, but it really comes down to wearing the helmet and it fitting your head properly. And you might want to get one that you like to look at too, because you're more likely to wear a helmet that looks cool. The next question is, how important is visibility? And this is particularly relevant in these dark days of winter when the sun sets early. And visibility is really important, both being seen and being able to see. So let's talk about being seen, making sure that specifically drivers see you. And you can do that with lights, dynamo lights that run off the bike, e-bike lights that run off your e-bike battery, USB rechargeable lights or small battery-powered lights. Really, anything that emits light is going to help. The brighter the better, in my opinion. And having reflective elements on your bike or your clothing can also be the difference between a car or driver seeing you or not. And being able to see is also important when it's dark out. So if that's having a bright enough light in the front of your bike to illuminate the road in front of you, or making sure you're following routes with illumination, street lights, for instance, can really help. You want to be sure that you see a pothole in front of you or any other obstacle that's coming up. Also, eye protection is a good idea too. It can be windy and there can be a lot of debris on the road in the winter, so something that keeps that out of your eyes. And if it's nighttime, having clear lenses in your glasses is necessary. And finally, what are some best practices to ride safely? Number one is use your senses and don't dull them. So for your sight, just be conscious of not obscuring your vision with your gear, your glasses, or your helmet. Or for your hearing, being able to hear a car coming up behind you or a vehicle or hearing anything is really important on the road. So don't completely cut off your hearing with headphones that don't allow you to also hear. So that's, a lot of people use bone conducting type headphones or bike speakers if they want to listen to music. And that still allows you to hear any danger coming up behind you when you're riding. And another way to dull your senses is by consuming psychoactive substances, drugs and alcohol. And doing this can be just as dangerous on a bike as it might be in another vehicle. So keep that in mind and don't drink and ride. Next tip is ride defensively. And that doesn't mean you have to go slow all the time, but it means being aware that there are other road users and they all behave in different ways. So you have to be alert and aware of what they're doing. And that could be vehicles, pedestrian, dogs, children. So just making sure that you're aware of what's going on ahead of you and to the sides of you can really save you in a tough situation. And the next tip is to work with traffic. And that means to understand a car's body language. And cars do have body language in that they can indicate movements that they're going to make before they make them. A car may drift over in their lane before they make a turn. Many cars use turn signals, although not all of them do. But being aware of what kind of things a car does to indicate its next steps can really help you. And communicating with drivers can also help too. So that means hand signals, wave to acknowledge your driver, or make eye contact if you're trying to make a move. They allow you to work with cars, and acting like a car on the road will also help drivers respect you as a road user. So that means taking the lane when necessary, or asserting your presence there on the road. Act like you also belong there, which you do. In this series, we're answering your questions. So if you have any tips about safety or any more questions about safety, post them in the comments and we'll address them in a future video.